Hello, Serendipitous here with another video for the TTRPG shelf. Here we have Root, the role-playing game, specifically the Deluxe edition. It is much cheaper to get the normal edition. There's two books. There's the core book, and then there's like a supplement book essentially. But the books themselves are just so nice and beautiful and everything. And I just anyway, my wife and I were talking about it, and we're like, yeah, let's get the deluxe edition. Let's get the deluxe version. Anyway, so why do we have this? I was actually first enamored by the board game Root. This is based on the board. This is based on the board game of the same name, same art style, and everything like that. I had kept hearing about Root, the role playing game, and Root, the board game, and I wanted to try it out. And I had an opportunity earlier this year to basically purchase the base board game, and we did, and we tried it out. Like we learned it. It took a little bit, and there will be a video on the board game shelf about all the Root expansions and stuff. Basically, we've been going all in on Root, and I love it. It's just so incredibly charming, and there's just the world is really like it's there's really creative and colorful world that you can basically make your own and everything. But yeah, I'll probably talk a little more about like Root in the board game shelf videos. But here are the books. Absolutely gorgeous. This is the core rule book. This has the four main factions: the Marquis de Cat, the Airy Dynasty, the Woodland Alliance, and the Vagabonds. And then here we have the supplement book, Travelers and Outsiders, which has the next four factions: the Corvid Conspiracy, the Underground Duchy, the Riverfolk Mercenaries, and the Lizard Cult. Of course, there's a couple other factions, obviously, as well. But yeah, this is the deluxe version. And yeah, I also have the PDFs as well, which I believe came free with the physical versions. It has a little ribbon in there as well. Essentially, in the board game, it is Root. The Root the board game is basically like a little woodland critter war game, where these various factions are like competing for control over the woods. And one of the factions is the Vagabond, which are like these little adventurers that explore ruins and like trade items and stuff like that. And they can be allies or hostile with other factions and all that kind of stuff. Well, in the role playing game, you are playing as a vagabond. Like you're a small group of vagabonds in whatever the conflict is. And yeah, there's a little bit of lore in here, but it's basically just kind of based straight up off of the board game itself. It's fairly like they give you just enough details to work with, but there's a lot of room to like basically make it your own. Essentially, it's not nearly as prescriptive as the lore of other role playing games. And as much as I love lore, and as much as I love delving deep into like official lore and everything, I've come to appreciate that for collaborative storytelling games, the tabletop RPGs. When it comes to lore, maybe the best way to approach lore, unless you really, really want to stick to a specific, very specific prescribed world, you can really be fairly loose with things. Just kind of give the general ideas and the general sense of what the factions are about, and what their goals are, and what the in certain situations what would they do, give you an idea of. Give you just enough information to understand if they're in this situation, this faction would want to do this. There's also sort of a system in here for creating your woodland, naming them, and also even figuring out which factions rule which little towns or clearings and stuff. Although in this book they do mention that you could do that system, but you could also just kind of play Root the board game if you have it, and then whatever the state of the board game is after 3 or 4 rounds is the start of your game. But yeah, the supplement book basically goes over a few more factions you could add. There's lots more playbooks for the Vagabonds. Oh, I should also say the Root role-playing game uses the Powered by the Apocalypse system. This is published by Magpie Games, which they make a lot of games using Powered by the Apocalypse. And yeah, I'm kind of familiar with the Powered by the Apocalypse system. There are other games I have Happy's Apocalypse on Earth that uses that. But yeah, the thing that usually trips me up with that particular system is like the number of moves you have to kind of keep track of. And luckily, you're able to print off like reference sheets that help you like keep track of all the different moves and everything. Um, but yeah, and also these books give you like some example clearings and complete with denizens and everything like that. Like you really do have everything you need. Maybe just in this book alone, but also especially including with this book to run your own campaign. And yeah, there are lots of different kinds of vagabonds in here. I will say I was a little surprised that this was powered by the apocalypse, because there's nothing really like, it's not like powered by the apocalypse means a game has to be apocalyptic in nature. It's just the origins of the system and everything. But it does kind of, if what you're going for is like more of a narrative based system, then yeah, Powered by the Apocalypse does a pretty good job of making things more like kind of like narratively like loose and more narrative focused and things like that. The different playbooks of Vagabonds. In the core book, you have the Adventurer, the Arbiter, the Harrier, the Ranger, the Ronin, the Scoundrel, the Thief, the Tinkerer, and the Vagrant, which are like the main Vagabond types in all the expansions and everything of the board game. But this supplement book has a bunch of more playbooks. The Champion, the Chronicler, the Exile, the Envoy, the Heretic, the Pirate, the Prince, the Raconteur, the Raider, and the Seeker. My wife and I have made a couple of characters for this because we're like I said in a previous video, we're going to be like sort of running one shots for each other with our various tabletop role playing games. And we're going to start with Root, and I'm going to run a one shot or two shot of Root, the role playing game. And I created, and basically it's our experience that when you have like a one-on-one kind of TTRPG session where like one person's the player and the other person's the game master, it's helpful to have the game master kind of have the GM create a GMPC, essentially like another character to help the player character and everything like that. That way, because if a player character is all alone, then they're less likely to succeed in a game that's kind of expecting you to have a group of people. So I created a chronicler, like kind of like a librarian or researcher, basically. There's even an ability in the chronicler playbook called Lore Master. Like, how could I not, right? So I made a barn owl chronicler, and my wife made a little orchestral exile, and we're basically going to have a kind of like Airy Dynasty, like maybe bird-centric sort of campaign. I'm probably going to have the Corvid Conspiracy, Marquita Cat, and Airy Dynasty be the main factions in our little game, and we'll see where that takes us. But yeah, I love the way Root looks. Just the artwork is gorgeous. The art style and everything. These books are quite lovely. They're beautiful. And there we go. Yeah, they just slide right in there. There you go. And yeah, I'm happy to have Root, the role-playing game, as well as Root, the board game. Because again, once I started learning and playing Root, the board game, I thought, wow, this is a really awesome like world with lots of really cool like political and like social conflicts and everything between the different factions, and there's all these like towns and clearings in the middle of it all and everything. And I, it'd be fun to just really like play around with all of that and like play a group of vagabonds, kind of dealing with all of these various conflicts. So yeah, there we go. Very, very pleased with this. Leader Games made Root the board game, and Magpie Games collaborated with them to make Root the role-playing game. I'm very happy with this. So anyway, thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. And I will say that as of now, we've caught up with all of the TTRPG books that we have, that I have in my TTRPG gaming like shelf library, whatever. So is that the end? No, not quite, because there are lots of TTRPG items that I have. I have a lot of dice, for example. There are some 3D. I have some 3D printed little accessories and stuff, and also some miniatures. And whatever. So I will continue. So until and obviously in the future, if I get more TTRPG books and stuff, I will of course also probably make videos of those and put them in this playlist. But for now, the plan going forward is covering other TTRPG materials, items, dice, whatever, that I have. Because, yeah, along with board games and video games, TTRPGs is a huge hobby of mine. And goodness knows I have a lot of even dice just to begin with. I might just make a video just with all the dice. I know everything. But yeah, there you go. Thank you, and until next time, all the best.